You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
It's your favorite show, anywhere at any time. Minute to Skim It, going 6 years strong, or 7 or 8 or something. I don't know. It's a lot of time. Welcome, everybody. I'm Ms. Jen, and this is Shanice. I know you're surprised to see me here, but I'm happy to be back occasionally to come and read for review the comic books that are coming out this week at comic shops near you. Hey, bud. There's a cute kid watching this. By the way, we do this from a broadcast booth. It was essentially like a small, I don't know what you think, 12 by 12 room that we have giant windows on one side so that people can watch us if they want to. I don't know why I wouldn't want to. Anyway, there are a ton of books out this week. So you're gonna have to debate for yourself what you're gonna spend your money on, because it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be really tough, because not only is there a lot coming out from the big two, but there's a whole bunch of indies, and then there were a bunch of crowdfunded stuff that was filled this week. So if your LCS supports crowdfunded stuff at the retailer level, which they often post those up, they might have these too. So let's get after it. You want to go? I don't even know who has the most of them.
I think you.
Yeah. I do want to remind you guys that it's a previews week. This does not necessarily mean that Marvel and DC managed to print their parts that are supposed to go in here on time. Those kinds of things are a little bit in the Wild West right now, but definitely Diamond's Previews is out. It's got a wicked cool cover. Think of this as kind of like, do you guys remember when you were growing up? This is going to date me. Sears and Montgomery Wards and all those people would have a cool Christmas issue or whatever of their catalog, and you go through it and like, need it, want it, whatever. Think about it that way, and then tell your LCS by telling them, I circle these things in my previews. Will you order them for me? And they'll love you forever. Okay. I'm pretty sure this is actually someone's specific book.
Yeah, it is. So it's going to them after this show.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. We must have only had this one left. Is that is an old Miss Jen? Oh no, okay. Good. Magic Order. We're on volume 4 of this awesome Mark Millar series. To jump in, you can really jump in anywhere for the series. All you really need to know, and honestly, the books themselves explain it, is that the series is about 2 or more, and it's mostly 2, warring factions of magic users. Think exactly like you would see from like a book about the mob and different families warring for supremacy. It's just like that. And in this one, you get to see, since we're in the 4th series of it, you get to see established characters and families really start going after each other. It looks like in this opening issue, one of the families, I cannot tell you which, has made a decision to, instead of, just try to like be trouble for each other, just take out all of the members of the other family that they don't like, which is all of them, it looks like. So see how they try and if they succeed in Magic Order. Yeah. It's a little murdery.
Just a tad bit of murder. Smidgen.
It's so crazy how weird. I look so different with just like my hair pulled to one side. It's uncanny.
The uncanny Jim.
Observations.
Oh man, so like I
Mhm.
know you said that you can just jump in at any point, but I guess do they make like enough references to like the previous series where you're gonna be like or is it like just straightforward like, oh, you can just jump in, you're good to go?
You're going to get from this one that there's a family that their last name is Moonstone, and that they're one of the families. I don't know if they actually mentioned the other family's like name in this one. So, but still, I promise you that you don't really need to know anything. You could just not ever read the other 3 sessions and just take this as like the beginning of everything. Uncanny X-Gen. I need a t-shirt. And also, I'm interested to see if you found this week. I feel like every week there is some kind of weird theme that happens in the books that are released, and at least there's a couple usually. So I'm going to see if there's any of the themes in yours.
Let's see. Well, I started with mine. Dragon Age: The Missing. So I was really excited to read this one this week because I love Dragon Age. It's one of my all-time favorite video game franchises. And I guess to tide us over until Dragon Age 4, this is the perfect book for that. So it follows Varric and trying to track down the Dreadwolf that's introduced in Inquisition. So I will say that definitely play that game first because I don't want to spoil who that person is.
Oh, that's important, huh?
Yeah, it's very important because they will spoil who this character is. So if you're just playing Inquisition for the first time, like, oh, this is a great book to read, and then it spoils it for you in like the first like couple pages, and that's not fun. But I really liked it. From my understanding, it's going to be. Actually, no, never mind. I thought it would have on the cover if it's a miniseries or something. But I really liked it. Again, I am a little bit biased because it's one of my favorite video game franchises, and it's just like the dialogue, the characterizations is perfect, just from the game, just like the games. So highly recommend it if you love Dragon Age.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Yes.
If I've never played Dragon Age, and I'm never going to play Dragon Age, can I read this book and still enjoy it for itself, since I'm not worried about spoilers?
I mean, I think you could. Like, honestly, I mean, telling me about like the Dune book series, like you can any of the spin-offs, even if you've never read like the first Dune book, you can jump into it, and it's like, oh, because of the world, that's the world building and the characters, Same thing with this one. If you've never played Dragon Age, even though you should. Play it at some point. It's still a fun, fantasy mystery book. So
she's gonna convert me sometime.
Yeah, but I
can't play video. I mean, I don't never play the game to know what it's like, but I get so stressed out by games where you have to make it through a storytelling kind of thing, and if you can't figure out a section of it, then you just like run in circles. It's so in my daily life, I'm just like, I just want to get things done.
I mean, if it helps, Dragon Age, it's like an RPG. So if you played like D&D, you can, you can play this.
So it's like, okay, there's some kind of aspect of the entirety of the challenge that I could do.
Yeah. And
feel okay about it. All right. You remember back when PlayStation was the only game that like the top of the tier of the game playing things you do, and I had Tomb Raider, and I'm not a very good gamer, obviously, but I remember I made it to a certain place in that game, and I could not make it any farther. It was so tense for months. I tried though. Lara Croft, vixen. All right. Just pointing out for you guys that liked the show, maybe Invincible was the first experience you had with Invincible was the show, and you're very sad that it's not continuing. Here is your chance to own the number 1. They're making this awesome facsimile for you to grab onto. Look, it's the theme right now is Mark Millar. Oh no, sorry, this is Kirkman. There's no theme that goes Millar. So this is a wait for you to jump in and read it, because I know that the number one of the regular series book is really expensive, and that maybe you're not into it enough. Like, would you be curious enough about it to get a trade paperback? This is like a nice, inexpensive way to get to read it.
Believe the hype.
Believe the hype. It's like Saga. Oh, okay. All right, so this is an actual book that I read. This is an awesome book out of Source Point Press, and this is obviously a new imprint of theirs. And I'm gonna like take it to task. It looks like this is a guillotine, right? But I don't know how to read their little symbol. I don't know if it's come on, Hanem. I don't know. Help me out, guys. When you make graphics, think it through. For how's anyone gonna know what to call you? So I'll find out and I'll tell you. Zombicide Day One is it is exactly what you expect it to be. It really is kind of like the beginning of a zombie apocalypse. It does a very straightforward telling, which I kind of like, where it takes you from how like the rumors of someone got bit and it made that person act crazy, running straight forward into getting you into the main characters, which in this case end up being kind of a fellow that everyone else kind of looks at as being kind of like a doomsayer, survivalist guy. They're like, we're not going to pay attention to this guy, but he hooks up with, he likes his waitress, I guess, and comes and mentions to her, you seem like you haven't treated me like I'm crazy, so I'm going to come and help you out by rescuing you. And then she ends up being a BA all on her own, because waitresses, they got to take care of stuff all the time. Mm-hmm. And then they add another character, and then the group that they form will make you be like, yeah, this is a boss thing, and the art is just killer in this. So I don't know that I've ever read anything by this group, this creative group, but I like them. They're doing a good thing. So far, I will say that we've got magic and we've got zombies. Let's see what other themes we can come up with.
Did you want to do one more since you have more?
Oh, let's do that. Makes sense. Let me find another. I'll go for another zombie, and we'll put them together here. Here we go. Another zombie. From my good friends at Tin Sky Comics, which the creative team for this is quite large. Includes Austin Janowski, which you will recognize his name from other things that we love to support, like oh goodness gracious, from Source Point Press, the Snowman book that we've been pitching, and some other really great stuff. And Jonathan Hedrick has stuff in here, Stan Yak, Stefano Cardicelli. It's just totally full of creative genius in this book. And there's a bunch of different covers of it. This is the third series. They're all secretly called Zombies Were Human Too. So if you are looking for these books, they're all named the exact same thing. You just have to know from looking at the inside which one it is. Or I like how it's important, Nick. It spell checked your Shanice to Shannon. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Well, no, that's actually like my mom's name. So
is it really?
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't know that. Okay, so the way these always work is that there's like a story that's happening in which there are main characters that are kind of like interacting with each other, and then they kind of reference to a story, and then that's the zombie stories you're going to be reading. In this case, I think it's like a group that's meeting that's like PTSD survivors or something. And they're like sharing these tales of zombies to try to like as a way to work through some trauma. You can read it and tell me that I'm completely wrong. That's fine too. But there are two big stories in here. They're both amazing, but my favorite one is the second story, which takes place in this Slim and Tim's junkyard. That part is in black and white largely, but there's so much like splashes of blood color that's over it that it doesn't really look black and white after the first page. And it involves a junkyard dog and arm.
Like the wrestler?
No, an actual junkyard dog because they own a junkyard.
Yeah. Sorry.
So yeah, it's and this one is one of those that I'm telling you about that your local comic shop may have, or you might have to get with Tin Sky to find, because it was a Kickstarter book originally. So worth hunting down. So there you go. There's my second zombie book. Ta-da!
You see. See, okay. It's the wrestling fan of me. I can't help it.
It does not surprise me in any way. Everything turns into wrestling.
All right, my next book is Nightwalkers.
What a great cover.
I love it. The variant is also very good. It's like just like inverted, like colorless. Yeah. So basically, the premise of this, it takes place at a rehabilitation center, and the main character, so she's placed there because her parents, they don't explicitly say it, but you can tell that they come from a very powerful political background, and having a daughter who's a user isn't great for their image. So they put her in rehab so that she can get clean. But again, you kind of get the vibe that this isn't her first time there. So she's there, and she's obviously hating it when something is happening outside. The orderlies, they're like, okay, you guys need to go to your rooms now. We're having a lie down early. Just go to bed and don't leave. Whatever you hear, just don't leave.
This sounds like the beginning of a very scary film.
Exactly, right? It's like, oh, that's okay. That's something you always want to hear, right? So next morning she wakes up. The orderlies are gone. The patients are still there, and all the doors are locked. They can't get out. They can't access their phones. Nothing. The TV's not working. So obviously, this is, like you said, this is like the beginning of like a really scary movie, and something is in the woods stalking them, and it is legitimately terrifying. Like anything that does like a mimic of your voice to lure you out is instant no. So it's a fun, it's a very fun horror comic that kind of freaks me out, which is surprising because Colin Bunn, he's one of the few horror writers, comic writers that like just gets me.
Why does it not surprise me? This is fun. Of course, it's fun.
So I really dug it. It's the first issue. It gives you enough of a tease to be like, I need to know more. And the premise and the setting of it's interesting because you don't really see a lot of horrors at like a rehab. So I loved it so much, and just oh man, and the creature design, love it. 10 out of 10. Nightmares for days.
I just have to say that I don't really know when Colin sleeps or if he does, because he puts out consistently amazing writing, and that really does the same thing where it touches on deep-seated fears, and none of it feels repetitive. I just don't know how he does it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to say congratulations to Source Point Press. I see that they moved into their new facility in a historic building, and I cannot wait to see how they what it looks like inside, because I'm so used to their old facilities. They weren't old. I just mean the ones that were in before. I'm used to in my mind how they're laid out. So I'm interested to see what that looks like. Okay, what's next? Another cool book that I've been waiting for a while. I backed this book from, and I can never remember what LEP stands for when I'm trying to think of it. So dumb. It's like an easy to remember thing, but I can't ever remember. It's not important. The name of the book is right.
Last Ember Press.
Thank you. I was like, it's such a. It has that's fire on it. Why can't I remember?
We backed that one too.
Yeah, this one has got some really great action. I will tell you that I'm hoping in the second issue that they clarify more what the point is, what they're trying to do. It says very clearly who they mention multiple times the sons of God. They don't show who they are as far as I can tell. It's a full of really beautiful art and action. I just think that I need more storytelling. I need more to tell me where are we going and why do we care and what's at stake. I will tell you that there are some really beautiful covers, including that's one of the variant covers that they have for the series. And I'm happy that I backed it. I'm intrigued to see where we're going next. And you can kind of get a glimpse there of the two different kinds of beings. Just regular humans and then these weird Tron suit wearing creatures. I'm interested to see how they all fit together.
That actually sounds really sick. The Akira slide cover?
Mm-hmm. Yep. It does look exactly like a Akira slide, right? And DC Universe Lazarus Planet. We were once gods. Or we once were gods. We'll get it straight. This one is a single shot, tying into the big overall Lazarus storyline that's going on. All you really need to know to join in, if you don't know anything at all about the Lazarus stuff, is that there is, I think it's Lazarus, is it Lazarus Planet or Lazarus Island, where this effect is mostly taking place, but it's affected the whole world or everything not even on the world, in which you know how before it's been very clearly defined between like you're a superhero and you've got superpowers and I'm not a superhero and I don't have superpowers. Well, this is kind of like wash the plate clean. So there's like superheroes that don't have power and there are non-superheroes that now have power. And this is kind of like all the stories that come out of that effect. The first story, I can't remember. The second story is Martian Manhunter related. There's a big one that's Shazam at the end. They're all just kind of like giving you an idea of what the implications are, what could happen if that was going to go on in the DC universe. So change is everywhere. What it says is true. Let's see. Right.
Following up with our DC book. So this is Action Comics 1051. It's the beginning of a new storyline, or I guess the first issue at the beginning of the new storyline, where basically everyone basically forgets who Superman is, or they know who he is, but they don't know his secret identity anymore. So they went back to the status quo. Okay. But I'm not upset about that. I'm actually happy. So I really liked it. I'm really liking like what they're doing in the Superman books. That from what I've read, the fact that they could tell more stories featuring different members of the Superman family. So it's not just Clark and John. There's the Superman from China. There's the other Superboy. There's Supergirl. So I'm really liking how they're like having all these characters interact with each other. And there are, of course, some very wholesome moments with the Kent family. Mm-hmm. And there's also a very funny ooh la la-esque moment. So involving Superman's warlord costume that it's one of my favorite pages that I've read so far. And but yeah, I just really liked it. There's an older Superman villain that comes back that I'm happy to see again. So I was like, oh, they didn't forget about this dude. Yay. Exactly. And it has 2 backup stories.
Ooh la la, there's a French Superman.
Oh, okay. So
I'd be about a French Superman.
So ooh la la. Okay, so reason so quick for context. If there's anything at the store that's like really sexy, things like that, we'll just say like ooh la la, things like that. So it's not a French Superman. It's just a funny little scene in there. There's 2 backup stories with. Yeah, it stands for sex. There's 2 backup stories with Power Girl and again with the Kent family. And I had to say the one with Power Girl, it's gotta be the best explanation for the boob window that I've seen in comics. So I almost said it's the breast expression for the boob window. And once I read it, I'm like, for like decades, this is all they had to say, and it makes perfect sense as a woman reading this. It's like, you know what? I get it. I totally get it. I understand why the boob window needs to exist. And
so it's an explanation that's more than just so we can look at them.
Right.
Like, okay.
And it's better than the whole, like, I needed a symbol, but I can't think of one, so it's blank. It's like, you could have just, whatever. But anyways, let me see. Oh my gosh.
But it is perfect. It's exactly the way a French person would say it. Kind of stereotypical. No. Maybe.
Yeah, it's the best explanation for the boob window I've seen. That's all I got on it.
The buzz on the street is at 10:51. It's got some first appearances or first things or something. So, yeah, it's a good place to jump in. If you've never been in a Superman, this might be your chance to try it out. Mm-hmm. See if it could ever like the Superman thing, because this looks like it's pretty lighthearted and not as like super serious as sometimes it is. I'll talk about some super serious stuff then. So everyone's been waiting for this book, Last Ronin, Lost Years, and this does absolutely have the first appearance of 4 characters. Can I spoil it? Ooh. So I don't know what's been said in the solicitation copy of this, so I don't know if, people know there's 4 new characters, but they don't know how they tie into this storyline. In the Last Ronin, the first series, that was a great storyline in which, close your ears if you don't know what that original storyline is, because I don't want to ruin things for you, where Mikey's the only surviving member of the Turtles clan. This story, and in addition to introducing these 4 new characters, which happens at the very beginning of the book, think about them moving farther along in time than I think we've seen yet for that introduction. And then it does go back and touch on when the big catastrophic event happens that causes what happens in the Last Ronin storyline. That stuff gets touched on. In the storyline, there's a lot of flashback to that part of the storytelling. And then it flashes to the things we've seen in Last Ronin. So it kind of like gets you back full circle to that storyline if you've read it. I will say, if you haven't gotten a chance to read The Last Ronin, you can jump into this book. You probably will get enough context from that middle storytelling, which kind of goes back and tells what happens. This is really amazing. It's exactly what you were hoping for. There are quite a few beautiful covers for this, and a gajillion store covers that are out there. I'm trying to decide which ones I like the most. Surely your store near you has them also to show you. Band of Bards is an amazing new company that has out this week Brody Can't Be Broken, which is a graphic novella. So this is an all-inclusive one story, and it is a magazine-sized book. And then Coins of Judas. And this one, the storyline is very simple. As in the biblical account, when Judas betrayed Jesus for the 30 coins and then ended up like throwing them on the ground and hanging himself from a tree. According to this part of the lore, which is not biblical, the coins themselves take on the aspects of demons or tied to demons. So this takes place way later during fairly modern times, in which there are big sects, S-E-C-T-S, sects that are trying to gather all the coins together because they believe if they do, then they will have some kind of extra power. Thank you. And I don't know what they think they're going to use it for, but also there is quite clearly a family. It's a brother and sister. The brother is on the front cover here. That their job is to try to keep that from happening. And so the whole book is basically introducing all of those things. If you were familiar with Travis Gibbs' work on Voodoo Nation or Broke Down and For Dead Bodies, his work is in here at writing, and it's well-told tale. Give that company a chance. They're putting out some really great stuff.
Let's see. Okay, so Archie versus the World. It's a one-shot.
Versus the world, you say?
So the thing I will always say about Archie comics is that they will have just the most out there stories and storylines and still make it work with characters.
Archie versus Punisher.
Right, Archie versus Punisher, like, you know, Afterlife of Archie, like it's so I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because this book is straight up a homage to Mad Max and Fist of the North Star. So it's like, on paper, this really shouldn't work. But again, Archie comics, they somehow find a way to make these weird premises work every single time. And this book, I mean, it hits the ground running like pedal to the metal, 100 miles per hour, and it's Archie versus Reggie, and it's so direct, like it's Fist of the North Star, but again, with a Mad Max twist, like, you know, there's no more water, and they somehow have like the body types of these characters.
It looks like he's trying to be dressed like Fade from Dune,
and
it's got the sexy lips.
And I don't know, I just really dug it. Like, if you're just in for like a fun, I don't know if fun's the best word, but like, I guess a fun post-apocalyptic story set in a desert, with these characters dressed up like people from Mad Max, and it's played completely straight, and they're still like they're still the Archie, Betty, Veronica, and Cheryl Love Square, then you are in for a treat. It's a one shot, but it's like I would love to see more in this universe. So Archie Comics, if you could do that, that'd be great.
I'll relay that to them. I'm sure they'd be happy to know that we loved it. Okay. Okay, so I feel like, and you guys can tell me, you can put it in the chat, that there have been a couple of big storytelling things that have happened in Marvel books in the last year or so that I don't know if everybody really got into. Like, everyone was into the Hickman House and Power storyline. Everyone loved that stuff. And they stuck around for X-Men Red and all the other things that came kind of out of that. But I think that I did not see nearly as many people show up for for the Axe storyline, even though it was a really important storyline, and some other ones that have been out recently. I will say, if you were a fan at all of the Hickman storyline, this is completely tied to it. It couldn't be more intimately tied. It's called Sins of Sinister, and it's going to have the main storyline, and then it runs through some of the books, just like it usually does. To kind of like catch you guys up for what's happening on Krakoa. Sinister at the beginning got asked to be part of the council, right? I think it's called the Quiet Council or the Silent Council, that included Prof X and the White Queen, and lots of people. You're just thinking, why in the world would you give these people power? It doesn't make any sense. But they had all made an agreement that, like, there was no bad mutants and no good mutants. Like, everyone was mutant kind, and they would do everything to benefit mutants, right? Everyone lived on Krakoa or the sister island, which they ended up transporting to Mars, and that became its own sovereign nation. And they declared themselves a sovereign nation, okay? They used the resources that they could get from Krakoa to make special drugs that could heal humans, but then use that as leverage to make other world governments say, we acknowledge you as a sovereign nation, so that we can get access to these life-saving drugs. So we cure cancer and all kinds of other things, right? Out of this came like very specific religion that was tied to Krakoa and commerce and all these kinds of things. Okay. So there's been lots of things that have been going on in the X-Men and etc. universe that are all tied to the difficulty of this. Only other thing you need to know about it is that as part of the original setup, there is now become the ability to regenerate. So if any mutant dies, Prof X has stored in Cerebro a backup version of them, and can, by using what was originally a character called Gold Balls, which is now called Egg, and some other specific, previously completely useless X-Men characters, together to basically make a new clone body and then download their last, whatever version of them that they want. That's the other thing too, is they've now been able to decide which version of that character that they want back into that body, whatever they need it for, right? That seems very ethically bad. Yep. Cough. Scott Summers. Cough, cough, cough. Yep. And it's so good. I mean, it's one of those things that, like, when you have this type of storyline, it's important. Now, you have Mr. Sinister here. It's been revealed in this book. It's literally the lead-in pages where you read what's been going on. He's had his own plan kind of brewing for a long time. He has secretly killed Prof X and 3 other members of the council and replaced them with the versions that he wants. See? This is why you should not do these things. And this begins this story. So I've got you all caught up so you can read Sins of Sinister. And this book is like super thick. Like I only really could get to maybe a first quarter of it. And I can't wait to read the rest of it. But to know that, like, oh yeah, this storyline is, I just want to know when Krakoa is going to be like, all right, I'm being taken advantage of and you fools need to be off me. And then just like destroys all of them. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. Hey, Sean! Sorry for that long version of it, but I wanted to get you guys all caught up.
Let's see. So next one, Batman. Batman One Bad Day, Catwoman #1. Make it short and sweet. Again, I really liked it. The art is beautiful, but not surprising considering who the artist is. It's Jamie, and I'm gonna butcher his name, McClive.
I actually don't know what it.
But he's worked on The Wicked and the Divine, so wonderful artist, and I just really dug it. Selena, like in comparison to the other books, it's definitely not as violent, especially like the Riddler and the Two-Face one. But Selena isn't portrayed as a villain, which of course
Serial killer.
No, not serial killer. Like just like an anti-hero, like like how she is. Yeah. And there's some fun moments between her and Batman. But the book, it is heavy in other ways because it does bring up the whole, the haves and the have-nots. How the haves, they can basically set the price for anything. They can basically tell you what is worthless and what actually has worth. And you can be like, oh yeah, totally, yeah, this actually has worth to it. And then the haves can be like, nope, never mind. And it's not a fair system, and you can feel Selena's frustration in this book. And there is a character who is introduced who I hope isn't a one-off. Hope to see more appearances of her because she's such a fun antagonist and mirror to Selena Kyle. Ooh. And I just really like this book. I mean, I've been really digging like this whole line, to be honest with you. Like it's been great. I recommend it.
Yeah, I don't even know if you can find the Riddler Part 1 anymore. That was so good. Mm-hmm. And I know that last week that Bane was out, or the week before that, that disappeared. Like that, the buzz was really. I would add Batman One Bad Day to your poll, just because it's so good. It's been consistently good. Mm-hmm. Okay. This is Inferno Girl Red. It's a big old thick prestige format book out of Image. And this is basically about a mom and her daughter. The daughter is going to college, I think. It looks like it's a very specialized school, so I don't know if it's just like the traditional college. It doesn't feel like it at all. The mom is a reporter and would like to get another job, but it's clear that because of some reporting that she did on Inferno Girl in the past, which I guess maybe the rest of the world saw as being not accurate reporting, or it's one of those things I'm sure later on in the series they'll actually reveal exactly what the problem is. She's having a hard time finding another bit of work. But her daughter ends up going to the school, which looks like it's a very much not traditional format learning. And their first professor she has is like very interesting. Like it starts out with meditation. So it's that thing I think is like an important part of the storyline. It has like those twinklings of like maybe this professor is either going to be more important to her than just a professor might be. And then big occurrences happen, and I'm not going to ruin that part for you because that's the important part of this series, I think. If you like hero adjacent books, and you don't mind that it's hero based, give this one a chance. I know that it's really hard to split yourself from your money that usually goes to the big two, but this one, just like when you say to yourself, okay, I'm glad that I gave a chance to The Boys or Invincible. This feels like one of those book series that you probably should at least try. And then, sorry, I have a ton of them. Holy cow. Okay. And then this is also one that's probably not going to be at your local comic shop unless they also buy everything that Mr. Papoose makes. But this one is The Oz, number 2 of a 3-issue series that he's been putting together. Just imagine a storyline in which the characters are all the same characters from Oz, but they don't serve any of the same roles that they do or purposes from that storyline at all. Like Dorothy herself is like essentially a mercenary military leader, and all the other characters have similar like differences. Like here's a cool pumpkin man. It's played really seriously too. Like they live in a world in which they look like this, and they're doing their best to like battle against each other. I'll let you discover who are the bad guys and who are the good guys, because that's important to this. Really amazing art. Totally worth hunting down. Just called The OZ, or The Oz if you want to call it that. And big thick book. It's awesome.
Okay, so Darkwing Duck number 1. Of course, I picked it just for nostalgia reasons because I used to watch as a kid. But it's a very, very fun book. One of my favorite things about it, honestly, like the sound effects had little like jokes in them, like had like a duck related pun.
I remember that.
Yeah, just like in the panels, so there's like a like crack, but it's like quack. So it's really cute. But yeah, it doesn't miss a beat. So like, Gargoyles, it's, watch the series and you're a kid, then you're gonna love this. It was just cute. Like it's all I can really say. Like, if you're a Darkwing Duck fan, obviously pick it up. If you're not, still pick it up because it's a fun jumping in point for like, adults, teens, kiddos, all ages. And even if you're not familiar with the show, it's a fun duck comic.
Oh yeah.
Like ducks.
I got to talk to Amanda Diebert about it, who she herself works in Hollywood as a scriptwriter and has done many, many, many comic books that you're familiar with, including things like Teen Titans Go and the DC Superhero Girls. So she knows her way around a cartoon, Mm-hmm. But the thing I liked about what she said is she's basically saying that she did not go back and tap old material. She watched all the old material and was familiar with it, but it's just like moving on from all the storyline that has already happened. So it's not a rehash of stuff that's gone before. So it's just like as if we picked up where they left off.
Right, which I loved. It's like if the show was still airing, I feel like it'd feel like just like another season of the show. Mm-hmm. Like does its own thing and it works. So.
Mm-hmm. And it has some of your very favorite characters in it, I promise. I love it when awesome companies like Mad Cave send advanced copies of things so I can get them into your brain pan way ahead of FOC so you can add it to your polls. Recently, Mad Cave had one of the really talented folks from another company move over to them. My brain is going to stop for exactly what this person's name. Mike Martz. I'm going to get it in my brain. MM names are horrible for me. So Martz has moved over. I don't know if he has any like impact on what they're carrying and stuff, but it feels like they're kind of up their game. He did a lot of stuff for Aftershock related to development stuff. So cool guy. This is called Hunt, Kill, Repeat. This one takes place in the world of gods like Zeus and all of his kin. And the main character is this one in the middle of the cover. I'm not going to tell you who she is, but she is trying to live amongst humans and not use her powers and have a regular married life. And that includes making a baby. Zeus finds out about this in this book, and it takes it way too far, way too far. And I think because of the actions of what happened in this book, which I'll let you enjoy, I think he's created in her a real enemy, even though she's his daughter. So in this world, all of the gods are actually like worshipped and are on Earth and are very, very present and not just like, maybe in the sky somewhere. Baby making, ooh la la, that's right.
He picked it up really fast.
And I did not get to read this book, but there is another little storyline that's going on called Murder World. This is the Wolverine tie-in. In case you are following along, I don't want you to miss out on that one.
Okay, so let's see. Green Hornet, One Night in Bangkok.
Ooh.
It's a one-shot. It takes place before the current Green Hornet book that's running or is about to run. And I will be honest with you guys, the only thing I know about Green Hornet was that movie that came out that had Seth Rogen in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm aging myself, I guess, with that. So I guess, and I just had no idea that Green Hornet uses guns. I always thought he just fought like hand to hand.
He has like a really pretty car.
Yeah, and the car is really awesome when you see in the comic. So yeah, and there actually is a Lone Ranger reference. This Central Green. I feel like that's a trolling comment. but yeah, so there's a Lone Ranger reference in here. I guess Sister tied together makes sense. But I really liked it. It's a fun noir, very violent. Which is my jam. Mm-hmm. And I don't know too much about the Green Hornet character, but what happens in a book, it tells me just enough. And I definitely do want to check out the current run, because the way it ends, it's like, oh man, this poor dude, he really went through it. And I kind of want to see what happens as a consequence of his actions. So I recommend it. Are you a Green Hornet person?
I mean, I enjoy Green Hornet. I would read this, honestly, because Panosian's on the front cover as an artist. Mm-hmm. I love Panosian, so I haven't read it in a little while. It's just like, so Dynamite tends to do books that you would on the surface think, okay, well, that's from a long time ago, or do people really, like, are they connected to it anymore? Like Darkwing, Green Hornet, Lone Ranger, and all those kinds of things. But every single time I've read one of them, I'm like, why am I not reading this?
Right.
It's like, from what I understand from people that are reading the 007 series that just is finishing up, this is the best 007 series they've ever read, and that's all Dynamite. So think about adding more Dynamite to your reading life. Mm-hmm. All right. For people that like going backward a little bit to things of the past that you should love and are very sweet, this is Nervous Rex. It's Alive is the company that's making it, and this is previously published material by William Van Horn. He used to work for Disney and do a lot of that kind of stuff. And it is, I can guarantee you've never read it unless you actually own the Nervous Wrecks that came out back in the day. But it is a bunch of really cute stories. I think there's like 3 of them that take place between, this is Nervous Rex. He is a T-Rex, and he is really a small little timid creature. And this is his wife, who is much bigger. And all the stories involve her kind of like, why don't you act more like a T-Rex? Why don't you eat more like a T-Rex? And they're just really, they're everything you want from older based kind of like funny books where there's a story that's being told, but it's kind of like to get to the, almost like it's not like the knock knock joke, but like kind of like the funny joke that exists at the end that ties it all together. Mm-hmm. And this is an all black and white book, just so that you're aware in case black and white books mess with your eyes. Like I have a friend who he can't read black and white because the rods and cones in his eyes, he can't see it. How much do they retail for? Just cover price. Mm-hmm. Like or this one's like a $6.25 because it's a big thick one.
Right, so my last book of the day is Bowls of Beacon Hill from Steve Orlando. And oh man, it's a fun little crime book. Basically, so it takes place in Boston, which I'm noticing is a trend with Steve Orlando because I guess he's from there originally. And so it's about a gangster who is ashamed of his son, his son like is a genuinely good person. Like he's a surgeon, like, and everyone likes him, but the gangster, like he's really homophobic, and it's like, I know my son, and it's like, dude, but it's whatever. So they're not on, speaking terms. Like the son is obviously ashamed of his dad because his dad is a gangster who kills people, and dad is just a jerk. So the dad is like, okay, my son is meddling in my plans because his son is running for public office. And he's like, oh no, well, my corrupt candidate is losing against my son. I gotta fix this. So he puts a hit out on his son. No! And obviously is not going to go the way he thinks because, his son, despises him. You kind of get the feeling that his son, he's learned some things from him. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to see where this goes because it's an interesting premise. It's like a gangster story.
Oh yeah. And
father against son, and it's just like, man, that is a real piece of work. Oh my goodness. Like, geez,
if you guys read this book and you end up liking it as a series, get in touch with me and I can give you some other recommendations for like-minded stories that we will love. Mm-hmm. You can relate. You were also a mob boss's son. Excellent. All right. And I think this is my last, yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay. The Brody Can't Be Broken that I mentioned before is actually created by a really awesome gentleman that is actually local to us. This is through the Band of Bards company. But he is the most amazing English teacher on the planet named Ben Humanic. And he tells a really fun tale here about Brody, who basically gets called up as just like a group of action heroes might to fight the bad guys. This is the bad guy in this case. And he is really creating havoc for this city. And they're just trying to figure out how to really be able to defeat him without having the whole city destroyed. But the secret about this superhero book is it's not really a superhero book, although there's superhero stuff going on there. It's really about his relationship with his kind of like, she flies the plane around in support of him when he gets dropped down to do stuff. And it's clear that he has feelings for her, and that protectiveness of her is more distraction than he should have when he's trying to fight a being that should smash him to bits. So if you like a little bit of like romance to your superhero book, try it out. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. A reminder that all of these comic books, or many of these comic books, you can find at your local comic shop. You should get in contact with them today. Thank you for watching. If you like this programming, please share, subscribe, like, give us hearts. We love it so much. It gives us so much jazz to see that we're doing what you guys like. You can also get in touch with us and let us know if there's other things you would like us to cover, or if you have a favorite book that you think is outside of our purview that we wouldn't normally be ordering. We'd love to hear from you guys about things you would like us to review. You can always, if you're a creator also, send them to us. We're happy to review them. Even if they're not coming out this week, we'll throw them into the mix for you. Mm-hmm. Can we just go back to Mafia Papa and Son? Sorry to send you triggers. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us here on The Experience. I've been Miss Jen.
Shanice.
We'll see you guys next week on Minute to Skim It. Bye, y'all.